My semester project was for Kirwen Supermarket in Gibsonburg, Ohio. Uh, my client was Brenda Norton, a manager at Kirwen's, and my actual project was to update the brand of Kirwen's. The problem was that Kirwen's was being conflated with an IGA location. Um, so to start off with, if you look at the Miller's IGA logo that's in the center, um, I think it's axiomatic as to what the problem is. The problem is that the Kirwen's logo itself is rather generic, and the main word that people associate with Kirwen's is Kirwen's itself. And they usually don't say, I'm going to Kirwen's supermarket, they say, I'm going to Kirwen's. Uh, so, Kirwen's being a very small independently run store, um, can be very easily conflated with the IGA because stylistically it's a plain black and white logo, and the sign outside is red with a white lettering on it. So if you have somebody who's out of town, which a lot of people come in town for the deli, they think that they're going to an IGA. The reason why this is a problem is, um, let's say you're going to shop at another store like a Walmart. Well, if you go to shop at a Walmart, well, hey, if you go to the Walmart in Fremont, Ohio versus the one in Perrysburg, Ohio, or in BG, Ohio, why does it matter? Because it's all the same corporation, so it doesn't matter which location you go, it's all going to the same place. Uh, the same concept would work with an IGA as well. But since Kirwen's isn't part of the IGA, if it's conflated with the IGA, what if somebody says, well, I'm not running all the way to Gibsonburg just to go to their IGA, I'm going to go to the one in Clyde, Ohio, or the one in Pemberville, Ohio. Well, now Kirwen's has lost business. Plus, Kirwen's has unique things that are unique to solely them that maybe a Miller's wouldn't happen to have. So by conflating Miller's IGA, for example, with Kirwen's, uh, your expectations are going to be different. You might be disappointed or sad depending on what you were expecting. So that's a long drawn out way of saying that Kirwen's is not IGA. So that's the problem. So if you look at the top, the Kirwen supermarket with the sign next to it, that is what Kirwen's branding before I came to them this semester for the project. That's what all their branding looked like. And so you can see that versus the Miller IGA, how that's similar, how it's generic, and how it doesn't really stick out. And then at the very bottom is literally the way that I was saying that people take Kirwen's branding. They don't remember the supermarket part. They know it's a supermarket, so they're not going to say, I'm going to Kirwen's supermarket. I'm going to Kirwen's, and I'm going to Kirwen's IGA because they think it's an IGA. It's not an IGA, so that's the problem. So to fix the problem, here's the solution. This is the new Kirwen's logo. With the use of a brown paper bag, like a shopping bag, I took a picture of that, took the Kirwen's red and masked it over the brown paper bag, overall in a clipping mask over the Kirwen's logo. I had to do some reverse engineering to remake the logo because the old one was just far too pixelated. Made it a vector, made it very nice looking, and Brenda was very, very ecstatic when she saw it. And the reason why I didn't go and try to completely change the overall look of the Kirwen's brand is the loyal customers that come there on a regular basis identify with it, and there are a lot of loyal customers that come to Kirwen's. It's a small town grocery store. A lot of people appreciate. Basically, the big reason that the branding has changed is the store is going through a slower period, and this has been going on for the past few years. So the interest is to increase new customers. So if we can find a way to, this is the mentality at least, if we could find a way to um, bring new customers in, make the logo more flashy, appealing, make it look like something that will say, "Oh, I want to go see that store. It looks really professional." It might bring new customers in, but at the same time, you don't want to alienate the customers that are already shopping there, who might be confused on the new branding. So rather than just completely uh, change it up, so that way it's completely unrecognizable to the returning shopper, we found what stuck out the most, that stuck with the theme of Kirwen's, what people identified with, kept that the same, but uh, brought in new elements, which would mainly be the color and the contrast within the texture, to give it an updated feel. So I think it turned out really good. It's probably a way butchered explanation of what was done, but I think it ended up being effective. And again, my client Brenda really liked it. Her brothers Bill and Andy, who are co-managers of Kerwin's, really liked it, and so did most of the store. So the next deliverable was the credit debit monitor. The credit debit monitor is like, when you go swipe your card, um, and this is what you would see on the little screen on it, that give you all the necessary information: store location, store phone number, their website, but also the most important part, what cards are available for usage on their monitors. And Visa, MasterCard, Discover are what were available. The problem with the old one was, again, it was just black and white. It was bland. It was very pixelated. It just did not look good. It was hard to read. It just was not doing its job communicating the information that was necessary. So the solution was simple. Let's make it readable, make it accessible for the customer, but also let's make it pop again. Let's give the customer something to look at. Encourage them, like create a call to action. Oh, this looks interesting. Let's read this. Oh, now I have the necessary information needed to complete the transaction. So that was the mentality, and again, turned out pretty good, in my opinion, as well as my clients. So the next deliverable is 5 slides. Each of the slides are featured on another monitor at the checkout. This monitor is where you would actually see the prices as things are being scanned. You see your total for the transaction, that kind of thing. Now, during the transaction, these slides will appear at the bottom left-hand corner of the monitor, and their purpose is to just give customers information about different departments in the store. And when a transaction is not currently in progress, you'll see these slides as well, but you will see them full screen because that monitor is not being used for anything. So it's basically like a screensaver, but it's an effective screensaver that communicates with the customer. So if a customer happens to be in line, they might see it before they actually start scanning their items, that type of thing. But anyway, again, it gives the customer information about the different departments within the store and what's available to them. It might encourage them to go back and make another purchase because perhaps they didn't go to that department, but they saw the slide. So you have the craft brew selection, you have the dairy, you have the deli, the frozen, and the meats. So pretty simple. Create a template, and then just went with that, and then put the necessary information that corresponds with each department. Uh, Nothing too complex, but simple, easy to follow, and communicates what's needed effectively. So my second to last deliverable was the business card. So the business card is the very first business card, or maybe not the very first, but the first in a very long time that Kirwen's had, as they really didn't need a business card as a local business, but because I mean, word of the store just kind of passed by word of mouth. That's how it does, or that's how it works in a small town. Anyway, but it was decided that it might be a good idea to have a business card now because they're trying to reinforce the new brand and encourage new people to come. So, hey, you're a regular customer. Take some business cards and pass them out to some of your friends, and they'll see the new branding, and maybe we'll get some new customers in. So it's basically just to increase brand awareness. That's why that's the whole purpose for why the business cards were made, and it's just using the graphic that I used before for the credit debit monitor, and uses the new Kirwen's logo within it, and then the background, the brown paper bag. I used some like a red glow, which is the Kirwen's red, just to give it the Kirwen's feel. I think it turned out really good. It's creative, it's eye catching, and it just screams grocery store, and it shows off the new Kirwen's branding. The last deliverable was the letterhead, so this is a zoomed in version of it. The old Kirwen's letterhead was plain text, no logo, Kirwen Supermarket. There was no in the heart of Gibsonburg, and then just had the information below. That was it. So very bland, not a whole lot to it. So obviously not much was added to it. I mean, I created the logo and added it to it, and I changed the font of the written text at the bottom, but to reflect the sub font within the logo, so it's consistent. So very simple change, necessary change. Fits with the branding. It looks good. So as far as the results go, I'm just bringing up the old logo versus the new logo again. You can see how it's very the same yet very different at the same time. Color and contrast can do a lot. It looks very updated. It looks a heck of a lot clearer, and I think it really differentiates itself from the IGA. So I don't think that'll be as much as of a problem anymore because of how it looks visually now. So throughout the process, I learned a lot about branding, about what it takes to actually be different from another brand, so that way it doesn't get conflated. That's probably the ultimate thing I learned was how do you identify what's unique in one company's branding and capitalize on that aspect without losing what that company's brand was. So basically, how do you update a brand without losing its character? That's what I learned throughout this process, and in a lot of ways, I think it's more challenging than just coming up with a completely new brand, because when you come up with a completely new brand, the main challenge is to just appeal to the customer, or well, the customer, your client, um, which you have to do that here too, but you already have something that you have to remain faithful to, but yet you have to go and change. So where's that line? Where do you change? Where do you not change? When you cross the line of making the client happier or upset with what changes are being made or what's not being changed. So that's what I learned, and I think that I did a good job. I know Brenda, my client, thought that I did a really good job. Um, it definitely was a process. There were times that were challenging more than others. I think really the main challenge was uh, changing that logo, which is what created the snowball effect for everything else. Pretty much the branding followed the logo. So once I had the logo, everything else just seemed to fall into place naturally. So yeah, so just working on that logo was the main challenge. And once I got it, and once I got Brenda on board with it, and her brothers, who are the other co-managers, we were all set, and it was a pretty smooth process. So thanks for watching.